Greenwashing is everywhere, from supermarket shelves to corporate annual reports. But here's the questions. Are those sustainability claims worth anything without hard data to back them up? My guest today says no. And she's here to prove it. We're going to unpack what greenwashing gets wrong and how a new wave of climate tech is fixing it with science, not spins.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Welcome back to Startuprad.io, your gateway to the German, Swiss, and Austrian startup scene, bringing you the founders, investors, and innovators shaping the future. I'm your host, Joe Manager, and today we are diving deep into the world of climate tech, supply chain transparency, and why the fight against greenwashing is about more than just good intentions. Joining me today is Irene. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Joe. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. She's the co-founder and CEO of Novio Planet, a climate tech platform spun out of BASF in 2023 that's making environmental data the global standard for transparency. Irene has more than a decade of experience in large-scale life cycle assessment, has worked with industry leaders like Evonik, KWS, Best Mix, and believes the key to stopping greenwashing isn't more PR, it's better data. From growing up in farming regions of Spain, where she witnessed environmental damage firsthand, to leading digital transformation projects in the agri-food sector at BASF, Irene's story is a rare mix of scientific precision and founder grit. And here's a little insider note. If you're a Founders Vault subscriber, you'll get to hear Irene's unfiltered thoughts on the worst greenwashing tactics she's seen in the wild, the realities of being a woman founding climate tech, and the bold moves Novio Planet has planned next. You can join us via our YouTube membership or on Substack to get that exclusive segment. And I can also spill a secret. You are owning a churros maker, right?
That's right. So that was my best acquisition during the COVID lockdown.
For everybody who doesn't know, you're originally from Spain. You are joining us currently from Madrid, but your startup is based close to BASF in Germany. And in Spain, there's a lot of good food, but I really I actually just bought a package of this very dense cacao hot chocolate that you eat with churros con chocolate, which is the chocolate part. Can you explain for everybody who's never tasted it what it's like?
So churro is a typical Spanish dessert, which is made of dough, basically. So it's like a Berliner, maybe your audience knows a Berliner, but in a shape of a circular long line, basically. But it's like a fried dough. So it's kind of like a Berliner, but in the Spanish way that you normally eat with hot chocolate. That's true. And normally that's typical really on Sundays. So every Sunday you would go and buy churros, you eat the hot chocolate, or like New Year's. That's also very typical.
It actually surprised me when you said it's a typical dessert, because I always associate it with the very early mornings when you leave the Spanish nightlife, because in Madrid, nightlife starts at midnight and lasts maybe until 6 a.m. And that's usually the time I had churros.
And then you go to San Ginés, which is the best churreria in Madrid, and then you have the churros at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's where usually the people pull me over. Come on, churros con chocolate. Yes! Okay, Irene, let's start right at the heart of this. In your own words, what is greenwashing in 2025, and why does it still happen when we've never had more sustainability regulations on the books?
Yeah, thank you, Joe, for the question. So indeed, I think there are a lot of regulations upcoming now, but greenwashing is still happening because companies are still making environmental claims which are not based on evidence, which are not based on transparent and verifiable data. So any environmental claim that you might see in the supermarket, if you don't see any asterisk or any really small text explaining what it means, that's a sign of greenwashing. So even though there are a lot of regulations today, still there is a lot of gray area, that is not covering such claims.
Can you share a high-profile or memorable example of corporate greenwashing that failed and what we can learn from it?
Yeah, so I think so maybe like two examples that I think everyone can relate to. For example, when you go to the supermarket and you look at any product, maybe in the package, if you look at a plastic bottle, maybe it says 100% recycled material. So all these packaging claims that talk about recyclability, normally that's hiding more that it's not written in the label. So packaging would be one sector where this is really widely spread right now. And also the textile industry. I think we have all these claims a bit misleading when they talk about organic cotton. Okay, this t-shirt reduce the water footprint in X region. So all these labels are related to our clothes that we buy. They can be really, really misleading still today.
I was wondering for our audience, what's the worst example of greenwashing you've seen? Tell us in the comments below. Irene, why do you think so many companies treat sustainability as a marketing exercise rather than measurable impact strategy?
Yeah. So, that's a really good question because
You're here for the good questions.
we are just getting started. So, I think that I mean, as consumers, that we are all consumers. So I think when the price and the functionality of the product is the same, then the consumer will always buy something that is coming from a company that is environmentally conscious. Yeah, so a company that has some sustainability or environmental related strategy. So I think companies still understand that because consumers are aware of the environment and are aware of the climate change. Who hasn't heard of climate change today? Then they would choose, this more sustainable, let's say, product over another one that has the same price and functionality. So it is very easy and cheap to have a marketing narrative over really embedding sustainability in the operations of the company to reduce waste, to reduce all kind of raw materials. So that's always the easy way, and consumers still value sustainability today, of course.
Mm-hmm. And the missing link is data with Know Your Planet. You said data is the missing link in sustainability. How does this apply to solving the greenwashing problem?
Yeah. So let me give you some context here. So there was this study performed by the European Commission a couple of years ago, and they investigated all the sustainability labels that we find in the supermarket, which are 230 different labels that you find on the products. All these labels, what I said before about recyclability of the materials, all these eco, bio, organic. And what they found is that actually half of these claims, they don't have any data backing them. So they don't have any verifiable data saying like, okay, this is a bottle which is coming from recycled material, and here is why. So data and really at the product level, that's what's missing to verify and to make sure that it's a proper environmental claim.
So we're not down to data, and you get data from measurements. What's wrong with the way most companies measure their environmental impact today, and how could your LCA software improve this?
Yeah. So again, looking at the supermarket, the supermarket topic. So when you look at the environmental impact of a supermarket, 95% is coming from the products, that you find on the shelves. And today it is accepted in the regulations to use, let's say, the same average emission factor for, of course, per group, right? So per vegetables, per meat, if it comes from chicken, pork, and so on, they would use one emission factor, average industry factor for all these products. So this doesn't allow to really engage with your suppliers. This doesn't allow improve your supply chain because you don't have any transparency. You're using just average data. So with LCA and Nuvio Planet, so LCA is life cycle assessment, you can measure the real environmental impact in the supply chain of your product. So with life cycle assessment, that's really the tool and the methodology that is used to account for all the emissions, for all the resource consumption that happens along the life cycle of a product. In this way, you can find specificity and you can really see the real impact from your suppliers and at the product level.
My understanding is it's the complete life cycle. So a lot of, like you've been talking about, for example, fashion. I'm not necessarily a fashion guy here, speaking from my experience, but, my understanding would be, for example, that some of the claims are basically just the production of the clothes, but nobody considers how to dispose of them. What do you need to do with them? How they impact the environment? And if you assess the complete life cycle, that's something different.
Indeed, yeah. So, I mean, normally these environmental claims, that's from cradle to gate, so to the gate of where you buy them, right? So, of course, the end of life of each product, that's also included in the life cycle assessment, but normally that's out of the scope of these environmental claims. But the way of disposing, yeah, or all the textiles, that would really change the environmental impact of the product, especially depending on where in the world, yeah, because the waste management systems, of course, that's completely different. So that could have a huge difference in the environmental impact of a t-shirt, wherever you buy it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how can the right climate tech SaaS turn sustainability from like a compliance cost into a driver of innovation and growth?
So I think that this life cycle approach, this life cycle thinking, that must be embedded into any product innovation, product development. So when companies, regardless of the sector, when they are developing new products, they need to embed sustainability in their research. And that's already happening in some sectors. But that will be the norm, yeah, going forward, that this LCA approach that's embedded in any product innovation, so that at the end companies can really also grow their top line.
Mm-hmm. Let's go a little bit from corporate to climate tech. What moment at BASF convinced you that the corporate ESG model alone couldn't deliver true supply chain transparency?
So, right. So ESG, that's the environment, social, and governance aspect of, so it's the entire sustainability, right? My focus is always on environmental sustainability. That's what I study. That's what we do with Nuvio Planet. So at BASF, when we talk to customers and suppliers, because of course, I mean, BASF is at the beginning of literally every value chain of every product. So when we talk to either customers or suppliers, we realize that having these corporate targets, having these corporate average numbers, that's not enough. Yeah, so they wanted to have tools, they wanted to have data at the product level so that they could really drive and have the transparency in the supply chain. So, I mean, it has been a journey, of course. So I think BASF released the first corporate carbon footprint in 2008. So not so long ago, if you think about it. And then since then, it has been just to improve. Yeah. And that's what we are also trying to do today with the tools and the software that we have. They are not perfect, but it's always continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm. I have a smartass question for you. You work there, you've been there. Do you know what BASF stands for?
Yeah. Badische Anilin Sodafabrik.
Here you go. And everybody repeats right now, Badische Anilin und Sodafabrik. Sorry, it's something I know because it's not too far away from where I grew up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
How did you navigate the leap from a corporate leader to climate tech founder, especially in such a mission-driven SaaS business?
So I was really fortunate because for the past 2 years I've been part of this startup program at BASF, where we have grown Nuvio Planet, where I have met my co-founder, my current co-founder Jörg, and actually during these past 2 years. I have already had the complete startup experience, from changing the founding team a couple of times, hiring the team, scaling the teams, having to have restructures. So I think so I was fortunate enough to have this transition, because of this startup program from BASF, where we really incubated Nuvio Planet so that now we can go as a fully independent company.
Guys, we'll be back with more questions after a short ad break. Back from the ad break, we want to know now how Nuvio Planet actually works. What did you have to unlearn from your corporate life to succeed in the fast-paced green tech startup ecosystem?
So quite many things, but I would say, so mainly I think so as also, like, one of my mentors always told me like this: shipment beats perfection. So all the processes, right, that you have at a corporation, all the processes for approval, all the processes for alignment, all the processes for defining the 10-year strategy for something, that's of course not happening. And while you need to move while being mindful, of course, because we are in a pretty scientific field, so of course we cannot do really too bold movements, but still, I think this shipment, that's really something that I had to unlearn. And I would also say that the failure culture. So I really had to unlearn that failure is not an option. Because somehow this, at the corporate level, that's not the failure culture, let's say, is not very embedded in the corporations. So now it's a must, right? That you need to fail so that you can move, and I think also living with the uncertainty, living with the risk. So living my permanent German corporate job, of course, that's a huge risk, that I had to take, and that I have to live with this uncertainty. Like, I really believe in what we are doing. I really believe in the impact that we are creating, but it's a huge risk, and it's very uncertain. So I don't know where we will be in 1-2 years, right? Hopefully driving and helping our customers with the sustainability journey, but it's pretty uncertain, so this uncertainty, I didn't have it before, of course.
I was wondering, because such assessing the life cycle is nothing really easy. So I was wondering, how does your life cycle assessment platform turn complex environmental metrics, when we're just talking about stuff that BASF produces, food, textiles? There's a lot of input. How do you turn those complex environmental metrics into actionable decisions that meet the CSRD compliance? For everybody, that's a directive of the European Union.
So we have already mapped, let's say, the whole materiality assessments, all the parameters, all the hotspots that you have in the life cycle of a product. Let's say, for example, milk So our customers, when they register to our product, we have a template, an LCA template for milk. So everything is already built. They just need to enter their production data. So we have already aligned our science, our LCAs with the methodology. We are working with external certifiers so that they can certify our methodology. And basically with this modular and with this, let's say, easy interface and already everything in the backend that they don't need to see, that's embedded in the product after many years of research that we have been doing this at BSF. And this is mainly how we make it easier for the user. Yeah, so it's for them, it's reproducible, so they always get the same LCA, the same template, and for them, they know what data to collect, basically.
Can you share a success story where something like accurate carbon footprint tracking changed the client sustainability strategy?
So I would say that I think the best example maybe that we might have is a customer producing milk, and they used our tool to reformulate what they were giving to the cows as animal feed. And thanks to our tool, they after several attempts, so I mean we allowed like multiple simulations, but then they could reduce the carbon footprint of milk by 8%. And then here, I mean, of course, it's not only based on sustainability. Yeah. So today, I mean, sustainability, it's an add-on, which in future it will become, of course, a must. But of course, when you look at the nutrition, when you look at the price, everything was better as well. And then on top, the sustainability aspect. And just to give you some dimension, because of course it's 8%, that's a bit abstract. But if we would consider that this customer would apply this let's say new formulation to all the milk that they buy from their suppliers, this would be equivalent to 1 million passenger flights round trip from Berlin to New York per year. So that's all the amount of CO2 that could be saved because of this new strategy from this customer.
That's a lot of time up in the air, especially considering that I do have a cousin who flies this route on a regular basis as a pilot. So that's quite an impact, especially if you can manifest it with something most people have experienced in their life. That's pretty interesting. And I also had to smile when we've been talking, when my wife later asked, how was your interview? Oh, it was great. We talked about churros con chocolate and a lot of milk.
The basis.
Yeah, the important stuff. Let's go a little bit more serious and back to the interview. What misconceptions do clients have before working with you, and how does science-based sustainability data shift their mindset?
Mm-hmm. So I think at the beginning they all think that it's going to be really expensive and that it's going to take really a lot of time to do one LCA for their products. But then when we show the product, of course they see like, okay, they can do it in hours instead of months that it would be the case with a consultant, and really for a small share of the price that they would pay if they would do it with an external party. So I think that's always the misconceptions. And I would say that also they think that they don't have the data, that they don't have what they need to do the LCA, right? So, and everything is in their systems. Of course, they know what they produce. So no one else knows better than the companies, of course, their production data. And I think with our platform, as I mentioned before, so we are aligning with methodologies, with standards. So we make sure, that everything is compliant, so that they don't have to do it themselves. Yeah, so they can rely 100% on our tool to be compliant with the methodologies.
Mm-hmm. My understanding is also the use of Nuvio Planet software is driven in part by regulation. How is CSRD legislation shaping the sustainability conversations across Europe? and the agri-food supply chain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good point. And I mean, there are a lot of updates regarding the regulations, and now the CSRD was again delayed or with the omnibus package. But in general, this is really shaping the conversation in a way that companies know that it's coming. So companies know that they have to report, and they are all preparing. But the reality is that, I mean, actually companies, they know that when they have the data, when they have sustainability data, when they have the real environmental data, this clarity will help them to really make better strategic decisions. So companies are doing it just to future-proof their license to operate, because regulations, okay, in 5 years they will change, right? We will have new regulations. But companies, they are really taking care of making sure that they have the data, and they are future proofing their data systems as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By the way, when are your clients required to do those life cycle assessments, report this data?
So the agri-food company, so that was delayed until 2026 now. So the first fiscal year will be 2025. So that will be the first year when they have to report. So they can, of course, use our platform to calculate the specific supplier footprint data.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But just sorry, I mean, having
Go
said
ahead.
that, I mean, we have there are many companies that already report on a voluntary basis. So there are other
Mm-hmm.
frameworks like the SBTI. So the Science-Based Target Initiative. So that has been around for quite some years already, and they are certifying science-based carbon reduction targets. So some companies, they have been already reporting this, so nothing changes for them. It's just that, okay, they have to do it now in a different reporting framework, but some companies, they have already been doing that, especially I mean, when you look at Europe, the biggest retailers, for example, they have already this voluntary reporting systems in place.
Mm-hmm. From our audience, I want to know, do you think regulation is key to ending greenwashing, or will it take something else? Share your thoughts with us. Irene, if every company had real-time ESG data like tomorrow, what would be the first big change you'd seen in the global food system?
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be a dream, because then we would see, we would see transparency. Yeah, we would see transparent value chains. We would see transparent data. We would see dynamic sourcing. So we would see really companies and consumers choosing low impact products. And that will have also an impact on the customers too. So they will reduce the costs that they need and the human resources that they need for reporting. With all this with all these new regulations, which is right now they're a bit freaking out. Some of them because they need to report. It's something that comes on top. They don't want to do it. They have to do it. So we, the tool providers, let's say, we try to make it easier, for them.
As the last question, hitting almost exactly a 30-minute mark here. Awesome timing, by the way. What's your boldest prediction for the role of data transparency in climate tech by 2030?
So I would say that environmental data must be as important as price and nutrition. So I would love to see that. I would love to see a real environmental label on every product, with verifiable data behind. And I would like to see really a lot of interconnected systems. So nowadays it's very difficult still to connect to software and to connect to different systems. It takes some time. So I think a fully interconnected, let's say, ecosystem and supply chain, where connecting software and data security and data flowing, that's the norm.
Irene, only thing left for me to say right now is muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Joe, to you too.
For everybody who's a subscriber on Substack and YouTube, we'll be back with a few more questions and answers in our Founders Vault.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.